Let's talk some Carolina Panthers football. We're kind of entering that time where we're getting close. We're just a couple weeks away, three weeks away from training camp and rookies coming in, and then the vets coming in usually just 2 or 3 days later. Everybody's coming in 17th, 18th, 19th. 20th. That is the time that all NFL teams are reporting. So yeah, 2.5 weeks. And let's talk about some players to watch, some stock reports, some players making noise this offseason. And this was an Athletic article. I'm not going to give you everything, and I'm not going to just show it to you because that's behind a paywall. I don't want to be that guy that gives it to you for free. But they did talk about some players that have stock trending up. And I just want to talk about that a little bit on here. The first player is on the offensive side of the ball. We'll start on the offensive side of the ball, then we'll kind of go defense and little mix and match. And I think I did a video about this earlier, but it's Raheem Blackshear. Chris might have done it as well. This is interesting. Frank Reich, your coach, doesn't love to just praise out a bunch of players or talk about standout players. He made sure to back your quarterback, right, Bryce Young, but he doesn't love doing it. But when he reluctantly was like, all right, fine, I'll give you a couple names. One of the players he talked about was Raheem Blackshear. You guys got him off the Bills practice squad in, I believe, September, something early last year. He ended up being a kick return guy for you, averaged 27 yards per return, would have qualified, I think, as best in the league if he had had one more kick return. So he proved himself to be a good kick returner. Here's the thing. Miles Sanders can't do everything in this backfield. So, yes, you're going to have to get a limited number of carries from Raheem Blackshear, but look for him to be kind of that gadget back. Look for him if he proves he can line up, maybe even in the slot every once in a while. I don't know, but a good receiving threat out of the backfield with good speed, good wiggle, good ability to make things happen out of the backfield. That's kind of where I would go from it. He had a good receiving grade via PFF at 71.4, so that's honestly not bad at all. He had 12 targets with 10 catches last year, turned it into 93 yards. Nothing crazy, but also nothing bad either. Now let's hit on the defensive side. Frankie Louvu. Oh boy, Frank. This is kind of interesting. The article kind of talked about if you were looking for a breakout player, but I think a lot of people could make the argument that Frankie kind of had a breakout last year. Right? Like, don't you think that last year was the year? I mean, he had 7 sacks. He had 87 total tackles, depending on where you're getting the stats. 103 total tackles with the assist. He had a pick. He had a couple of forced fumbles. Here's the thing about Frankie. He has been a much better player in 2 areas than the third. He has been very good at stopping the run. In fact, his run defense is one of the highest graded run defenders in the league. His pass rush is good. I mean, like we said, 7 sacks last year. His coverage grade is not great. So will they deploy him in the right areas? Will Frank Reich use him even better? Or will they develop some of that as well? This is a guy that I think is turning on and turning out to be a pretty good player for you, and someone that you can kind of be like, yep, this guy is part of what we're doing for the next 3-4 years. We'll see kind of how that looks and where he continues to play in that. So that is a breakout candidate. Back to the offensive side of the ball. See how I'm yo-yoing here? Back to the offensive side of the ball. I think Terrace Marshall Jr. is someone that everybody kind of wants to talk about. It's very, very interesting because the beginning of the year was really, really bad. It was not good. And then Matt Rule was fired, and he was given a chance to play, and Steve Wilks let him play. And down the stretch, he had 28 grabs, 24 of them for first downs. He is a outside receiver. He is a true outside receiver. And with DJ Moore gone to Chicago, I think he will get a chance. Also, his job is to hold off Mingo. Like, that is going to be his main job this year. So I think he has kind of that chip on his shoulder. Like, hey, I want to prove that I belong. Let's make them Let's keep Mingo on the bench as long as we can, but also see what happens. I think also he's just going to get a chance because you have two receivers that are getting a little bit longer in the tooth, especially Adam Thielen. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like health wise. And DJ Chark is not that old. He just is hurt a lot. He's spent the last 2.5 years injured quite often. We know about it. He was just with us with the Lions. When he plays, he does good things. He can stretch the field for you. He can make some really good catches. He just has bad ankles. So I think Terrace Marshall is going to have the opportunity to make some plays. The question is, how well can he take that next step? Because right now, what he is the guy who, when you're on a bad team with a bad receiver core, he's going to get some catches. But if you have a good team with a good receiver core, you keep him further down on the bench and he doesn't get a lot of opportunities. Can he prove at 6'3", 200 pounds that he can be that guy? This is what the article said. I'm not quite as high on Terrace Marshall. I like receivers who get really good separation, that are having a really high completion percentage rate. He doesn't do that. But he did some good things as well. So you let me know in the comments what you think about Terrace Marshall. And then we're going to go to our last player here, and that is Xavier Woods. I do have another one player that I just want to mention as well. Woods signed a 3-year contract, 16 million. And so he was part of a safety group, though, that did not get an interception last year. This is reminiscent very much of the Detroit Lions. We had Tracy Walker. Safety group didn't get any picks. We didn't get any picks out of that group. We re-signed Tracy Walker. He starts playing well. Kirby Joseph comes in. Here's the thing about Xavier Woods. I think he's a good player. I think he's a great safety. You can bring him down into the box a little bit. He's a much better, I would say, run defender overall than he is a pass defender. So that's what I would say about Xavier Woods at this point in his career. He spent a lot of time with Dallas. And then last year or 2 years ago, his year in Minnesota, his run, defense, and tackling was phenomenal. But again, he can become an average coverage safety if he can maintain just being an average to above average coverage safety and continue to tackle well. This could be really, really helpful for the Panthers and this defense that honestly doesn't have a ton of provenness outside of Brown and Burns, and Horn. We can go there too. And I know you guys are going to be mad at me that I'm leaving out a name here or somewhere else. There's good players on this team, and there's players that I think can do some serious things. We just have to see it consistently. Thompson and Frankie in the linebacker, that's probably their strongest position, I think. But there are a lot of players that it's just like, what are they going to do? And then you have to ask the question, how well are they going to gel around Bryce Young? But remember, Frank Reich's a good coach. And I think some Panthers fans are probably split on the idea of Wilkes versus Reich. And then you see, Reich being what happened to him in Indy and stuff like that. Remember, this guy used to be your quarterback. This is a guy that was offensive coordinator of a Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, I do believe. He is a good coach. He's a good coach. So interesting to see what you're going to do with that. And let me know if you think any of these players could have a big year. I don't necessarily see any of them like going out and lighting the world on fire, but they can be players that can help you win. All right. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Subscribe. Do it. Why not?